Okay, after all that good fun stuff, we have boxing. Two big men going at it.
Two big men going at it, Frank and Charles. I mean, these guys are huge. And I think if I remember, this is like Klitschko's 29th championship fight. But I won't be revealing too much when we had technical difficulties from last week. But I just keep thinking what Charles said, that, yeah, these are really big guys, but they're good athletes. And you see it right off from the start here that the action is a little tentative, only because of all the respect, the background that Joshua was training with Klitschko, and Klitschko really liked him, kind of took him under his wing. So there was that known respect, and Klitschko kind of fought kind of that way anyway. But this fight, he was a little more aggressive, as we see, just hide behind his jab so much. And Joshua knew what he was getting into. So, like I said, there's just a lot of respect here in the early going.
Yeah, I can see that too. I think too, when you look at it, to see Klitschko so active so early and bouncing like that is very uncharacteristic for him, or has been in earlier fights. But I think because of what had happened in the loss over to Fury, I think they might have felt there was either some sense of urgency, or also the factor that the only way that he was really going to be really a factor in this fight was to take this type of challenge on and fight this way.
Well, the interesting thing that you said, John, was, Klitschko's 25th title fight. Anthony Joshua, this is his 18th fight. And if I've read that wrong, I'm sorry. But this is what I think that I read correctly. So he had 18 fights, 18 knockouts, and this is his third title defense. I don't remember that being that way. I didn't realize that he'd come up and he got the title that quickly. So there's, that experience, and the fact that, as Charles said, that Klitschko knows how to do what he's doing, but he's doing it differently. That should put a little, what's going on here in Joshua's head, I would think.
Yeah, and I think you can kind of see that. I mean, there's always that respect. I mean, think about it. Even with, if you got a guy who's a mentor, even if he's a mentor or not in the boxing ring, you got a lot of respect. And there's obvious respect here. But this is the way Joshua fights. He's a big bomber, obviously, with those 18 knockouts. And Klitschko, you saw that gaudy record of 64-4, 53 knockouts. I mean, that's incredible. He might be one of those guys that gets more credit down the road, but his fights, we talked about his fights in the past, some of them were just kind of ridiculous in the sense they weren't very competitive. But in this fight, this is interesting because Joshua, they're boxing here. They're not really bombing. And what Charles said is right. Klitschko's doing more things than he usually does. He's boxing Joshua. I think, though, that his thinking going in, and I'm just totally speculating, was he was thinking that he might be able to catch Joshua like he did with that right hand, and maybe bother him a little bit. Now, he might have had knowledge. Now, as we know, Joshua doesn't have the best chin in the world. Now, some guys would tell you that, hey, these are heavyweights, and when you get hit by a guy with a 250-pounder, I don't care how good your jaw is, you're going to feel it. I don't know if I totally agree, but Joshua's only, we'll just say he's got an average chin. Okay. But so does Klitschko might not even have an average chin. So I was wondering if he was trying to surprise him here with some of those punches, and maybe, as we said earlier, surprise him with his activity.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. I think also, John, that maybe in Joshua's camp, and I'm speculating as well, if we can get this guy out quick, we'll have to worry about the end of it. And him being young, and that's what he's doing, 18 knockouts or what have you, kind of get him out quick. But at the same time, all of the England backing was there. But here in America, I can speak firsthand, we're waiting for him to fight somebody. and everybody was waiting for him to prove it to us. Because
Right.
what you do across the pond, it doesn't really mean much over here to us unless we see it. So I think this was a great challenge for him, but also one hell of a matchup between the two.
Well, I think we always look at that as our American bias, but I think there's a reason for that, because we've seen the gaudy numbers you put, as you both said, about Klitschko, and it's like, yeah, but who did he fight? And it doesn't mean he didn't fight anybody. It's just that they're people that haven't done it over the course of time elsewhere, and then they come up against him, they lose, and their career's usually over. You know, like, well, okay, did you really fight somebody? The best person he could have fight would have been his brother, and that wasn't going to happen. So we see again, here he comes in, and he's doing it, I think, a little bit differently than what he used to do, or what he was normally doing, is he was sitting back, as you both said, and waiting for Joshua or the opponent to come to him and pick him apart that way and put some rounds in the bank. Well, as Charles said, he's being more active than I've ever seen him be before. So maybe he knows he's got to do something. I don't know.
Yeah, and Joshua's using his jab a lot, as you guys saw that. I mean, he doesn't have a bad jab, and I think I remember he won the title from Charles Martin, guys, his first title, and that was like, I don't know what fight it was. I'm not gonna speculate on that. Not even speculate. I'm not gonna guess. It might have been 15th or 16th. You said this was his third
right. So it should have been his 15th fight. Yeah.
Right. So you're right. This was a totally different deal for Joshua and Klitschko. Right, he hadn't fought since he got beat by Fury, and that was a snooze fest. I don't know what he was doing in that fight. He was going through the motions, but you can see that the ringside judge has him, or the commentator has him, Joshua winning the first 2 rounds. Yeah, I could see that, but it wasn't like it was overwhelming. They were close rounds. Joshua maybe a little more active. Now he's starting to swing some shots, throw some hooks. But you can tell he's very wary, because everybody knows that Klitschko's got power. And that right hand of Klitschko and left hook, he knocked out Povetkin, or knocked down Povetkin a couple times with that left hook. He's got power. So this is one of those fights that I remember really well, because it wasn't that long ago, but you could feel, even watching it on television, you could feel the tension.
Oh, there we go.
Is that with guys like this, anything can happen. You know, you got home run hitters, so you're just kind of waiting somebody to land something huge and somebody to feel it. And Joshua just landed something pretty big. Let's go roll with it pretty well.
Now, Charles, is this the most active that we've seen Klitschko at this point in the fight in the last decade, do you think?
Oh, definitely. Definitely it was, because, as you said, he's more or less like a robot, sitting there waiting, and then you come to him, and then he starts to punch you, because when you make mistakes, because people are more aggressive, they make mistakes, and he would just wait and counter them, and then he would take over and start to pulverize them. But here, for some reason or another, maybe because, as John mentioned about that snooze fest with Fury, he's coming on, he's taking chances. Joshua in this 3rd round also is making some nice connections with the combinations, but we also notice after he does his 1-2 or 1-2-3 combination, he's sure to certain to cover up.
Right.
Because he doesn't want to coming back. And I think that's amazing, where, he normally probably, if he thought he had somebody in trouble, would go after him.
Well, the thing that I'm impressed with Klitschko's movement, as opposed to what we normally see from him. The foot movement, in and out, around. He's going side to side. He's coming in and out. He's on his toes. We could go 3 or 4 fights without seeing him move as much as he's moved in these first 3 rounds.
Yeah, he's not winning, but he's right there, and I think also, guys, that I remember reading that Klitschko was really motivated for this fight. He might not have been as motivated when he fought Fury. Again, total speculation, but he lost his titles. He had been champion for years and years. He wanted him back. Just think about it. You were the top guy, and you're going to fight a guy who was sparring with you a few years ago, and
right.
You probably had to play with him. So you're thinking, okay, I'm going to get myself, I'm 40, but I'm going to get myself in the best shape I can. I got a shot here. I don't have to chase after this guy like Fury. He's going to be right there. So I'm going to get myself in the best shape, and I'm going to move around more. But that's true. You see him bouncing, circling, something you never really saw. So it's almost like he's trying to outbox him, maybe tire him out a little bit.
Oh, that's right.
There was a good right hand right there. there's that right hand, and it wobbled him a little bit. You saw that. So I think part of it was that Klitschko had a little. Oh yeah, see, Klitschko had a little knowledge coming in here. Those legs, he had a little knowledge coming in, and that knowledge is power. Especially when you work with somebody or played sports with somebody, you know more than you study in film. So that he brought some, and he's a very brainy guy, Klitschko. He brought some knowledge into this one that he hoped to utilize, and you saw by that right hand that he hurt him.
Well, and you mentioned something that I think is very important. Again, speculating probably, but it's the loss to Fury. Ooh, coming back at him. The loss to Fury is like, I have to go get this fight so I can go back and beat Fury. I think that's part of the motivating factor. I have to go out after this guy because I can't believe I lost to the other guy. If I can obviously I've got to win this fight first. But I think he's motivated to go through this guy and do what he has to do because I think he wants Fury after this. Again, I don't know the story, but I'm thinking, I can't believe I lost to that guy. I'm going to prove it through this one and then move after that.
Yeah, I see that as well, but I think too that the corner of Klitschko probably said, this guy's young, he's prone to mistakes, right?
Right.
He's after that knockout, always swinging wild. We take our time, patient, move forward, hit him with a 1-2 combination. We might open up, which we've seen that happen in this round. So it seems like it's working. You just have to make sure that you get out there before Joshua returns. So I think it's a hell of a strategy, and one I would love to have seen Klitschko jump into earlier in his career. But
right.
What do you say when he's been that successful? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, it's something we mentioned earlier from last week when we couldn't actually make this work. But he's used to being the bigger guy, and so as the bigger guy, you fight differently. Well, he's fighting as if he's the smaller guy, and maybe it's a half-inch difference, but he's moving around more than he would against a guy that's 6'2", 6'3", where the guy's got to come up to him. So he understands that, which, again, I haven't seen that happen before.
Yeah, exactly. That's really a good point you said last week, Frank. Obviously he knew it going in. As I said a couple of times, they had sparred. There is that knowledge between the two of them, but maybe part of what Klitschko was thinking was, well, yeah, he knows me, but he's never seen me move around like this.
Right.
Do this, so I'm going to try to confuse him. I got so much more experience than him, and he's losing, but he won that round. I think that was a close because the big
I'd
shot.
to him, yeah.
But and also Joshua, there was already questions about his stamina. So again, that was a good one. See, now they didn't give it to him. But here comes Joshua in round 5. Just suddenly, like somebody told him in the corner, all right, you've been playing around with this old man long enough to get him. And he's really doing it here. He's really going.
Open up a cut, yep.
Yeah, he's hitting them with some wicked shots, and Klitschko goes down. Yeah, one more collapses, delayed reaction, and anything else. Klitschko's, he's okay, you can see it, but he's like, holy moly, what happened to him? Did I say something that upset him? What happened, one of those things.
Yeah, it is. And when you watch how he tries to regain himself after that, as you mentioned, Joshua is going directly out and trying to knock him out, connects with another left hand. He's bloody and cut. And it's like, this is what I do. Now I'm about to knock this old man. I told you, here it is.
Ooh, a backhand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting good here in the round 5.
And Klitschko's now out of his comfort zone. See, he even threw a backhand at him. That's, now he's trying to dance in circles. So he's out of his comfort zone now. He's a little worried.
Yeah, he's been moving, as we said, but now he's fighting more desperate than before. Yeah. That might have been the plan, but now it's more like, oh man, this guy, he's coming to get me. I got to survive here.
Yeah. Oh, see, he doesn't do that.
Joshua missed with a right hand by a whisker, and if he had hit Klitschko, that would have probably been it. But now you see Joshua was really gassed, looking at he's tired. Right. And this is like where the fight really gets interesting because he's got huge guys. They get tired when they do this, and bammo, you change.
That's like the 7th. Ooh, nice. The 7th desperate left hook. There he landed one. He threw 7 of them, like right over the top. Yep. There you go.
No,
now they're starting to land. Now they're starting to land. And there's still a minute left in the round.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Something makes you think. Something makes you think that Joshua has been thinking, yo, man, anybody else would be gone by now.
Right. and here I am.
What's going on?
And here I am gassed with a minute left to go. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And Joshua should have, well, he did there. He clinched. But you could see his legs. And somebody said that part of the reason he gets gas, not just because of punching, but he gets that gas for other reasons. He doesn't breathe right. I heard some trainer say that he's nervous in there. So when you're not breathing correctly, your stamina isn't very good.
Boom.
Now Klitschko's like, I got him. Yeah, you might have knocked me down, but now I got you, buddies, and this is why it made this fight such a great fight.
Klitschko just saying, just give me 30 more seconds.
Yeah, right. Now that's a 10-8, but that's more maybe like a 10-8 and a half, maybe.
9, yeah. Right. Might have been 10-9 because he wobbled him.
No, he scored as a 10-8. You get the point for the knockdown, but
I know, but
I'm still not sure that he didn't end up winning the round.
Yeah, I would have gave Klitschko one of those rounds at least. I think that's. But.
So here we are halfway through. Klitschko's got a cut. He's been down once, and Joshua doesn't look like he's as fresh as a daisy. And there's that wild left hook again.
Left hook.
Yeah, maybe again. It seems like it's to me, knowing the way that Klitschko usually fights, it seems like a desperation left hook. I don't know. It just seems like that to me. I could be wrong, but it's like I've got to throw this and hope it lands. I don't think I recall him being that aggressive with that kind of punch before, unless somebody was hurt.
He did do that with Povetkin. He did throw that kind of plunging, flying, jumping, whatever you want to call left hook, and hit him, knocked him down. So yeah, I think you're right though, Frank. I think it was both. I think it was a little desperate, and his thinking, look, if I hit him with this shot,
he's done. Right.
He's done. So.
Yeah, and I don't want to be. I don't throw. Right hand down.
What were you about to say?
I was gonna say I didn't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but it almost seemed like Joshua split that mouthpiece out on purpose so he can get some more rest.
Oh yeah, right. Oh yeah.
Trick. That's an old trick. And see, the other thing is we didn't mention is Klitschko's been throwing so many left hooks. Possibly just for a split second, Joshua forgot about the right hand, and that's why he got nailed with so flushly. Because all he's been throwing, as we see, mostly are left hooks. And, hit the referee there.
The wild right hand.
If I
don't throw that with me, throw it at him.
Right. The other guy, not me.
And now it looks like he's loading up the right. Klitschko.
Yeah, now he's looking to fire it.
Yeah, George Foreman would say, which one the referee? But I'm not the other one.
He's throwing the left. Yeah, he's still throwing the left, though. He's real confident. I mean, look, his hands are kind of down.
Yep.
Ooh, right hand.
Joshua nodded like that's a good shot. Now it's Joshua moving away.
Ooh.
Again, he's got to last a while here. You know.
Hold him against the ropes.
Say, hey, he's the one falling against me.
Joshua's gassed right now, though. You can tell.
Yeah, he is.
Good point.
Totally. And it's funny. He was gassed in the last round, as we saw, but he's gassed for both reasons. Now he's gassed for the last round still. He's trying to find his second win, and the knockdown really took a lot out of him. So it's a double whammy. And that was a pretty good jab. He's resilient. He's young and resilient.
Well, actually, now this is a weird theory on my part, but sometimes if you're not hurt, the knockdown actually helps because you get to get off your feet for a second, then you get the rest of the count. So you get to actually stand there without anybody hitting you. You at least get to breathe for 10 seconds.
Great, yeah. But he looked pretty tired.
Oh, yeah.
Though.
And he still does. So we traded 10-8 rounds.
Yep. I'd have 2 rounds Let's go if I was scoring.
Right. I can see that.
See, now we're like back to square one in a way. We
Yep.
both you knock me down, I knock you down. I got a cut. I'm lining you up. I'm putting that left. I'm not really jabbing. I'm just lining you up with that
Right,
left, trying to
right.
And Joshua was like, "Nah, I'm bouncing around now, man. I'm feeling a little better."
But
jab a little bit, but I'm feeling like I'm catching my second wind here.
It looks to me like Klitschko's thinking I can land what I want when I need to land it. Whereas it looks like Joshua's still, now I'm back at square one, at round one. I'm trying to figure this out again. It looks like that's in Klitschko's eyes. Like, when I get you in the right spot, I'm going to unload on you. Because he's kind of staring at him. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said I think part of that is the reason why, because he's landed those shots already.
Right.
And so he's feeling some kind of way. He's landing those shots, knocking him down. But that left eye is giving Klitschko major problems. You can tell. He's rubbing it. That's a major part in this fight right now.
Well, John, to use Charles's phrase, right now he's being crafty. He's getting in, he's getting out, he's looking at him. What can I do? I'm going to set you up. And Josh was just like, I got to hit a big shot because I'm not sure what. He's talking a little bit of stuff, but he's like, he's not throwing the jab anymore. Joshua's not.
Yeah, and I've always wondered about this because I wonder, like Klitschko. I mean, I wonder if maybe, totally speculating because it wasn't Klitschko's style. If perhaps after he had him so tired and hurt, the best thing would have been more aggressive. I mean, he's being aggressive,
right?
But we're talking do it because it wasn't in him. But as aggressive as he could be, not smoking Joe pressure because he's not smoking Joe, but pushing him even more. But I think Klitschko always had it in his mind about his chin. So he's more defensive. He keeps his chin back a little bit. Don't want to get hit with a shot. So he couldn't go barreling in there. And if he had, that might have changed things. I mean, if he would have been able to get really close and really punch him more consistently than he did, because you could see there's still a lot of posing, a lot of sticking the left out and trying to waiting for that shot. Crafty, right? But I don't know if that was necessarily the best with Joshua, the best strategy. Here it comes.
Charles, now having been involved in sports for 600 years or however old you are, when you're looking at the guy inside the event, can you tell that he's tired? Can you look at him if you're only this far away from each other? It's easy for us to see it because we've got a camera angle. It's easy for the corner to see it because they're not getting hit by the guy. They don't have to worry about getting hit by the guy. We can see he's getting tired, but can the guy in the ring notice that?
I think so, because when you're that close, even if you're like 5 rows away from the action, you can tell how small the ring starts to seem.
Okay.
And you can see how one of the fighters more aggressive, you can start to seem like the ring starts to shrink. And you're like, oh wow, he's coming after him. And I think it has a lot to do with how these bouts are judged as well. Because you start seeing those guys coming more aggressive in such a short space. And it's like, wow, he really is on him. And oftentimes, I think the judges might miss even some of the shots that were landed because there's so much worrying about who the aggressor was, and they don't have the ability to have TV or replay at their disposal or a large screen at the time. All you can do is take the action for what it is right at the moment.
I just wonder if, as we're saying, Joshua's tired, Klitschko's looking at him and going, I'm tired too. He doesn't look like he's any worse off than I am.
Yeah, and it looks to me that Joshua fully has got his second win now. You see he's moving more. He's not buckling like he was. He looks like he's got his senses. So at this point, it's back to being kind of a huge chess match between two huge chess guys.
Right.
Right? I mean, because it's even at this point as far as because I think Klitschko was feeling like I got him, where earlier Joshua was feeling like I got him. So now they're both like, okay, you got your win. I'm still here. The cuts bother me, but I'm trying to line you up for my right hand. He's not throwing the left like he was before, which is
right.
Might have been a mistake because he got Joshua thinking about it, trying to throw that big right hand. But now it's just like, well, who's ever going to hit who first really solidly is going to have an advantage. And again, it was all that tension with the 90,000 people in that event. Too amazing. Oh, there was a pretty good right.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I think a lot of it, was you mentioned earlier in the ring, though, is about, you can tell by the legs, and you also can tell if he keeps going back against those ropes, bobbing back and forth, I mean, Joshua at some point looked like he was almost ready to collapse, literally.
Right.
From exhaustion or getting hit. So I think that is a telling sign from somebody inside the ring like Klitschko.
And it's something we mentioned earlier. Klitschko still has good foot movement, or at least he's on his toes. I don't know if we want to call it good, but it's better than the other guy. Now, as we're looking at this, and not to give away the ending, is this the fight of the year right now? Is this one of those fights you're going, this is a great fight, or is this a good fight right now?
Frank, when I was watching it, I was saying yes, because it wasn't just that okay. You could say that it wasn't a great fight, but it was more. It's the heavyweights. The heavyweights always make boxing, so it was the best heavyweight fight that I had seen years and years. It had its moments where it was kind of where you're like, but it also had its moments of electricity, and that's what it kind of like a suspenseful movie, like a slow burner where you're just kind of waiting. But I remember thinking at this point, yes, I think it's the fight of the year because you got 2 knockdowns, you got a very competitive fight. You got Klitschko's won another round according to the ringside commentator. The fight is about even. Yeah, you pretty much got what you want and a lot more. And a part of it, too, I think, is because we had such low expectations of heavyweights that we didn't really know what to expect.
Right.
Joshua was blowing everybody away. We weren't sure what he is. He hadn't really beat anybody of note. So it lifted it just by us having such low expectations.
Charles, what do you think?
No, I agree with that. I think, too, that we're at a point where, as you mentioned, with all the action, all electricity is going on, we don't know what's going to happen next. And that's what makes it even more exciting. Because, like, who's going to rise off the map? Who's going to be the guy to make that move? And who's going to be the guy to make the mistake? And I think that's what makes it the fight of the year. Because, now both guys are like, okay, let's get this on. We know what's going on. I can knock you down, and you can knock me down. Who's going to survive? And I think that's what makes it for an exciting match compared to other ones where you just kind of watch. Well, it's only a matter of time for the one guy gets the next guy.
Right. I look at it. This has been an action chess match, as John said. Is that they're still going after each other, but they're thinking their way through it. It's been, if you're a boxing purist, and I know we don't usually say that about the heavyweights. If you're a boxing purist, you're going, these guys are thinking their way through this. They're setting things up. They're going from point A to point Q, and they're following their game plan pretty much, it looks like, the way they want it. And they're still throwing some haymakers in the middle of this and doing some damage to each other. So, yeah, so far I'm much more impressed than I thought I would be because I don't really remember this fight. I know that I might have seen bits and pieces of it. Nice right by Joshua. I'm like, okay, this is a lot better than I thought it was, than I thought it would have been going into it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's a great point, Frank, and I think a lot of people felt that way. And like I said, it's the heavyweights, and the heavyweights are the home run hitters, and these guys are good heavyweights. They're not two lumbering guys throwing haymakers at each other and exhausted after one round. These are two really in good shape, resilient, determined, competitive guys who Joshua keeps looking at him. They look at him like, I can't believe that old guy's still here, kind of that, So, here he comes, round 10. So, yeah, the fight really was a good, solid, great might be an overuse of the term, but when a fight is very competitive and like Charles, you don't really know what to expect. And we really didn't know what to expect. I would start trying to write as I was going along, and I thought, okay, Joshua was going to win by a knockout when he stopped him. But then it all totally turned. So I just put my fingers down by my side and just watched because I didn't know. I think a lot of people didn't know, and Klitschko's still there, and he's still pushing. He's pushing Joshua. So it was really good. Well,
here we are in the 10th, and we know how scoring goes. So even though Harold Letterman might have it 3 points Joshua up, we know how scoring goes. You never know. And at this point, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking this could be a split decision. It could be a draw. Or there's still the possibility someone lands that big shot and knocks somebody out because they've already done it. So there are all kinds of possibilities at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And you just see how Josh is trying to become more aggressive. The unknown is amazing, and they're both going back at each other with the ability to be able to knock the other down and knock the other out. And it makes for great entertainment. It makes for great entertainment. We're in round 10, and they're still trying to knock the hell out of each other.
Yeah, being cautiously aggressive.
Yeah. You're like, oh my goodness.
Ooh,
I love Klitschko though, because he knows how much he has on the line.
right.
I love that, and it's like, you know what? I got to get this one.
Yeah, and he's using that big telephone pole of a jab really effectively in this round. You saw it. He's knocked Joshua back a few times with his jab, and he's sticking to his plan, Frank, like you always like to say. I think he had a plan going in how to beat Joshua, and he's like, I'm sticking with this. I'm not changing. I'm going to jab him. I'm going to wait. I'm going to hit him again. Okay, we knocked each other down, but I'm figuring him out. But Charles, you're right. Joshua has come on here. He's a little more active. He's looking for the big shot, but he's jabbing a little bit too. Not as good as Klitschko, but he's looking to land something, and both are. But Joshua maybe a little faster in some ways. He's full of life. He's just missing with some of those big bombs.
Well, the thing that's impressed me about Joshua is, and granted, you can see the left hook coming from 6 miles away. I get that, but he's getting underneath that, and he's still kind of compact where, ooh, nice. You can't come back. Klitschko can't come back with something else off of that. So he's figured that out. I'm out of the way of the left hook. That's not hitting me, but I'm still prepared for what comes after that.
Yeah, he looks good here. Joshua looks real good after 10 rounds.
And like you said, he got a second win. Yeah.
Yeah, the eye started to come back around too.
Yep.
Right.
Good call.
Round 11. One more. I mean, this is round 11, and it's a 12-round fight. So this
Yep.
is. Ooh,
Uh-oh.
boy.
Maybe.
It's like round 5. Look at the legs. See the legs?
Yeah.
Just like
he's,
round
he's,
5.
he's still bouncing, though.
Bouncing, but yeah.
Oh, not as well as he was, though. He's bouncing to survive now.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
he
muscle
bouncing,
memory.
right.
It's like muscle memory, you know?
Wow.
Uh-oh. Shit. Here
Oh,
he comes again.
did you see that look in Klitschko's eyes like, oops?
Yeah, oh boy. It's like he
Maybe-
did to me in round 5.
yeah,
He's coming
maybe-
after me now.
Maybe I just saw that and I wasn't there. But, oh, nice jab, though.
Yeah, he's sitting there going like, "Wow, I better not be too aggressive anymore."
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That could have been a mistake.
The big shot coming here at some point. I can't remember, but man, oh man, was it a good one. And and I don't think
Right, that was it. But he's right there. He's right there, though. Well, not
He
now. Not now.
That uppercut was
Yeah.
That was
Man.
vicious. That was vicious. How you doing, big boy? What? Yeah, I'm
leg
good.
are
No,
kinda crooked.
I want to go take some more, please. Well, if you want some more, here it comes.
Oh,
Oh,
right
Right
hand.
hand.
Oh, my goodness. That's
good
right on
straight
the-
right.
Right on the jaw. Oh, uppercut.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to play no more.
Nah, it's like, man,
Yep.
that's like the guy staggering out of the bar, Frank. You know,
Yep.
he's woozy. I've had one too many, and I fell down right when I got out on the sidewalk. That was like I got nothing left. I'm just trying to survive.
Where are my keys at? Damn it! I'm driving home.
Where's my car at? Where's
Why-
my car?
No, it's why won't these keys work in my car? Because that's not your car.
That's right. Right. Anybody
Not-
get the number of that
Yeah,
truck?
not that I've ever done that before.
We don't know anything about that, right?
No. I saw somebody do it once. Yeah, this is it. This is it. That was that his either his face or his mouthpiece went to the third row.
Yeah, his
Yep.
mouthpiece.
Yep.
There was a lot of talk after that maybe it was a little early. The stoppage was a little early, but you could see.
I don't think
Klitschko
so.
was exhausted. Yeah, Klitschko was exhausted. He was wobbling. He was just going to get knocked down again.
Right.
Joshua was a good finisher, so that was something.
There was only so much more he could have done at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So as we talk about, again, we usually break into this after every fight, when we say fight of the year, now this was in recent memory. When we say fight of the year, that usually means something. I mean, to me it does. It means it had to be really something. And I wasn't sure about this one because, quite frankly, it was because of the people involved. And I don't know that I'd seen a Wladamir Klitschko fight where I said that was fight of the year. But he came out aggressive. He came out moving. And then you look at Joshua and said, I'm going to come out and play, and I'm going to do what I have to do. As we said, we had two large chess pieces out there thinking their way through an action fight. I was impressed. A lot more impressed than I thought I would be.
Go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. When I watched this fight the first time, I was amazed by the way that Klitschko fought. Because we heard so much again like Joshua, how great he was, how young he was, and across the pond, like I said, they love their fighters. But Klitschko came out and he, like, you know what, he gave him a run for his money. And I think it was the start to say, okay, now Joshua was this good, now he's really going to take off, right? Since you beat Klitschko in such an astounding fashion. I don't think watching Fury fight Klitschko made me go, oh, damn, here's that guy Fury. He's awesome.
Right.
It was like, you won because of his inactivity. But it actually kind of flip-flop, if you really noticed it, between the two of them. But, yeah, I would say fight of the year, yes, because you had a young guy who was looking to make a name for himself, and he did that. And then you had an older guy that was seasoned and, like, that says, hey, I got one more shot, but you're not just going to chump me and punk me like you do these other guys. It's going to take some work to get it done. And it did. And 11 rounds of off and on action in heavyweights where two guys going down within the fight, shit, that's magical.
Right. We don't get that much, right?
No. And you know what's ironic, guys, is that Klitschko got more credit for losing, I think, than he really ever did get for winning, because
I agree.
He showed so much in this fight. He showed heart. He showed desire. He showed resiliency. He showed sportsmanship. He went over and he's not moaning and groaning in his corner, complaining about whatever. He shook his hand. He hugged him. He raised his. I mean, he's a great sport anyway. But that kind of stuff, we don't see that very often nowadays. So I had a total newfound respect for Klitschko after this. I thought, you know, he's a sportsman, like they used to call boxers back 100 years ago. He's not a big loudmouth goon. He's a real good guy. I mean, it's not like I didn't know that, but he showed what we want to see in fighters. We understand when they're trying to win to be defensive, but we want heavyweights to throw the bombs, and he went for it. He tried. I mean, if I was him, I'd be thinking, okay, I'm really disappointed I lost, but I did everything in my power to win that fight. He hit me with a vicious uppercut. A lot of heavyweights wouldn't have been able to handle that uppercut. A lot of them would have went down.
Oh, yeah.
So that would be the one thing that would really make, and I was really pleased that he didn't come back, even though there was a talk for a rematch, and it kind of made you go, man, I want to see that again. But I think Joshua would have beat him again, probably even easier the second time. So I'm glad that even though it was a loss, it was a good way to go out, because it kind of cemented his entire career, made people look back at his career and go, yeah, that guy was pretty damn good, before. So in a way, that's kind of strange how that happens in sports.
Well, the thing it did, it cemented my idea of, okay, this is a really good big guy. But what happens when he fights another big guy? And when we saw that with Fury, we saw that here. Not to disparage what Klitschko had done, but as Charles had mentioned and as I've mentioned before, some of those fights for the previous decade were, oh, he's on again? Well, I guess he's going to defend because the guy's 6'2" and can't get to him. This was a fight where we see another big guy gets at him, and he fought a hell of a fight, don't get me wrong. But I think it just showed that, and not to throw dirt on his career, but I think it showed that when you fight a big guy against a big guy, there's more than just being the bigger guy. And he learned that, okay, I've got to do other stuff. And I thought he fought a heck of a fight. It's just that the other big guy was a good big guy too. But the thing I think I learned about it is Klitschko was more than just standing in the middle of the ring, paw a guy away, wait for him to make a mistake, either knock him out or win a decision. And I was glad to see that. And I think, John, as you said, I'm also glad to see I didn't have to see it again, because I would hate to see him have to go out on the shield like that. So, and
real fast, Charles, Frank, I think too is that, he was doing what you said. I mean, he fought some pretty big guys too, but the fights were one-sided and they were boring.
Right.
So that's why you went, what, again? Because you didn't bring what we had. You didn't have suspense. You didn't have. There were times where I just wanted to see him lose, just because I was so tired of it.
Right.
This was terrible. But it was just like, this is like a rerun. I've already seen this 10 times. Why do I want to watch it again? I only watch a rerun when it's really good. Why do I want to watch a rerun that it's just boring? So I think that was part of Klitschko. This Klitschko that fought Joshua, this was a different guy. This was a motivated guy, and he wanted it bad. And like I said, I totally had a newfound respect. I obviously had respect for him, but a total different type of respect for him after this fight.
I wouldn't have minded watching that guy fight for the previous decade.
Yes,
that would have been cool. That would have been cool. As Charles said, you got to come across the pond. He wouldn't have had to if he would have been that guy. I'd have watched him fight in Austria at 3 o'clock in the morning. That guy, I would have loved to have seen fight, especially in his physical prime. Well, right. that adds to it. Sure, it adds to it, right? Can you take one? And that's why he probably fought the way he did.
But on the Sanders fight, the Sanders fight really shook him up, and then Brewster beat him, and then Emmanuel Stewart came in there and said, look, I know how you can win. You got all these tools. You're not using them. So it was great for him that Stewart did that, but maybe there were times where he could have been more aggressive, could have did more with what he had.
Well, go ahead, Charles. I think you're going to carry on that.
Yeah, no, I was saying I agree with you. But see, for me, though, I like when Emmanuel Stewart came in. Of course, it just made him a little different. But this fight with Joshua was awesome because he was not afraid to show you that, I'm taking a risk, but I'm going to go out there and do the best I can. And not only did he do that, but he almost won the damn fight.
Right.
And not to always try to compare him to his brother, but at least this particular brother would fight the people. The other brother, me, would not fight anybody. And I'm still waiting for him to fight some damn body in some
Well, and it's funny because I don't think I've ever said this, and I'm probably never going to say it. This is the one time where maybe Emmanuel Stewart made you into less of a, I don't want to call it fighter, less of an attraction. The goal was for him to win. That's fine. And I understand that, and that's what he did. Emmanuel Stewart said, you're going to win. We're going to make you a winner. But it made him more bleh, And well, again, it's his job is not to entertain me. His job is to win belts and make money and entertain the masses. So that's cool. I have a problem with that, but it was just kind of,
Yeah, and it's convoluted, and it's maybe too complicated in a sense for boxing. And you're talking about brother Vitali, right? Vitali is more known in some circles for being the last guy to fight Lennox Lewis, and if he hadn't got cut, it looked like he was going to win that particular fight, if you guys remember. But yeah, no, those are really good points. I think it did make him, but it also gave him a longer career,
right?
Because I don't think his chin could have sustained if he kept getting hit like that.
Sure.
He learned how to get it. Emmanuel Stewart was a brilliant trainer. He knew what his fighter had and didn't have, and he gave Wladamir a career that he, like I said, I don't think he would have ever had if it wasn't for Emmanuel Stewart.
I agree completely.
So you got to give the man credit. He's like a genius trainer. We might not have liked it. I was thinking like it was like Joshua's victory over Ruiz. Joshua became a total different fighter when he fought Ruiz the second time. Made a lot of people very unhappy, but
he won.
So you can't please everybody.
That's true. And at the end of the day, it's about winning. And the controversy, if you will, him changing styles was one thing, but at the same time, like you said, Emmanuel Stewart said, hey, we got to be crafty, right? We got to do what we got to do in order to win these bouts. And that's what he did. And plus, too, I want to give Klitschko a lot of credit for being able to switch trainers like that and receive the message. Because a lot of guys couldn't have done that. They're so set in their style and the way they approach things. They couldn't have done that. So that kudos to him for that. Because, Emmanuel Stewart took him to the depths, man, and asked him to do a lot that he normally wasn't comfortable with. and he still was able to figure it out and win a lot more bouts.
Okay, now we're out of this fight. Anthony Joshua was 19-0 with 19 knockouts. Now, obviously, we have the benefit of history now, and 4 years later, 3 years later, whatever. What should and what has become of Anthony Joshua since this fight? Is he where he should be?
He is. I think he is what he is. We still don't know, in a way, how is he going to fight when he fights again? He's supposed to fight again in December. Is he going to be the guy moving around, or is he going to be a combination of both? Is he going to be wary because he knows his chin is suspect? Is he going to try not to get hit as much? Is he going to be not get traction? No, I think he's going to, this next fight against Pulev, I think he's going to go in there and try to knock him out, and I think he will. But the interesting thing is, if he fights Fury, not good. I don't see him beat Fury, but he is. The thing is we do in all sports is, I think we tend to overrate people quickly, and then the only way you really find out is when somebody fights or plays. We do it in all sports. Your football team's 5-0, and then they're going to play another 5-0 team, and they get beat 48-7, and you go, really?
I thought they were going to the Super Bowl. Right.
That's right. And here you have the same thing with Joshua. I mean, if anything, that was an eye-opener for Joshua, the fact that he got knocked down. He came very, very close to losing that fight. So to a 40-year-old man who was still good, don't get me wrong, in this era of heavyweights.
Right.
Not very many good ones, but in this era. So he is exactly what he is, and every one of his fights, I think, when he fights a guy that's equally as good or better, it's going to be kind of a roller coaster watching, and you're not going to be sure if he's going to win because the stamina and the chin, you just don't know.
Yeah,
I'm kind of like a Frank Bruno. I'm sorry, Charles. I just thought of Frank Bruno. Kind of like Frank Bruno in the sense that he was the idol of England, but he was flawed, and I'll just say that.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I agree with that. I mean, from that standpoint, because is he where he's supposed to be? I'm not sure about that, because he got a lot of hype, and that's not his doing. That's his folks, and then the sport of boxing, how they go about it with the media. So I think, John, you hit it right on the point. You know, he's the guy who he was. I mean, he comes in, he wants to knock you out, but he's shown now that he has the ability to box after getting caught. You know, before was a guy nobody thought he should have lost to, but I think he was overrated. I said that from the beginning, and I think all they had to do was put him in there with somebody that. I mean, they did with Klitschko, so let's not take that away from him. But then at that point, they wanted to build up on it like, oh, he went from when he beat Klitschko, it was almost like he got elevated. He's the best of everybody, and they put him on his pedestal. But it seemed like he still wanted nothing to do with, you know, the Wilders of the world, or even, you know, that Fury fight or anything like that. Two guys that really could challenge him. So he went the other way and kept winning. And then people were like, oh, yeah, he's the greatest guy. And then he gets beaten. Everybody's like, what happened? Especially in England. Like, what happened?
Especially in England, right.
Well, the word, Frank, the word that comes to mind real fast is protected.
Yes. Well, that's what I was just looking at. When you look at after that fight, Takam, Parker, Povetkin, Andy Ruiz, it's not like they threw him out there against guys that, you know, you have to worry about. You know, that someone's going to, now Povetkin, okay, but someone who's going to take your head off. Now, granted, he lost to Andy Ruiz, but still, I think that was more him than it was Andy Ruiz. That's just my opinion. But I guess my question is, and I know there are politics and all kinds of stuff thrown in here, how did we get Tyson Fury, who left, how does he get back into the mix and get belts and do this and all that, and Joshua's still kind of on the outside looking in? How did that happen?
Well, because Fury came back and had his comeback fights, and then he fought Wilder, and that was a tremendous fight. That's a fight we got to watch.
Right.
One of these days, just because it was pretty cool. The last round, obviously, was right out of a Hollywood movie, and it was taking place right over near Hollywood.
Right.
So
right.
It was cool, and Fury stole everything in a sense from Joshua, because I thought for a while that Fury was the one who was overrated. He fought Stevie Cunningham, and Stevie Cunningham knocked him down with a right hand. I was never so happy in my life because I didn't like Fury's act. I thought he was a big blowhard. If you're good, you're good. You don't have to. But it was kind of calculated on his part. But he won. He stopped Cunningham. So if Fury, and the other thing, Frank, is I got to say is that the heavyweight division is pretty weak. So if you're like Fury and you're undefeated and you try to kill yourself for 2 or 3 years and then you get yourself back in shape and you start fighting again, you got Bob Arum in your corner, you're going to get a title shot. And that's exactly what happened. And he fought Wilder, and then he fought him again. He's considered the top dog, and he is. As far as I'm concerned, he's by far better than Joshua and Wilder.
Well, the thing that I'm thinking, and I could be completely wrong about this, is that it seems to me, and again, I understand that there's more to it than just, I think they should have done it this way. I get that. But it seems to me that if Wilder is the big cheese at this point, after he fights Klitschko, okay, why isn't it that it was a Joshua Wilder fight? Why didn't we get that?
We almost did. I'm sorry.
Right.
I said, I think you're right, but at the same time, I'm going to be real. I don't think Joshua wanted that smoke. I don't. I promise you. When I look at that, and I'm like, you had the opportunity. You're the big dog at first. You're the guy. You beat Klitschko, you come over here, you got all the belts. You decide where you want to go. Okay? Fury says, look, yeah, I'm talking a lot of stuff to him because I'm trying to get this fight with Wilder. I'm doing everything I can, calling everything but a child of God. And he gets the fight.
See, that's my point. Right.
He comes close. And then the second time he said, I'm gonna take him, because now I know what it takes to get him. And say what you want to about him running his mouth, but he took the fight. And that's one thing that I'm holding off on Joshua, because he had opportunity as the big dog. He could command more money. He could have done a lot of things, but he never said yes. So Fury, in my mind, until Joshua rises up and says, yeah, I want to fight, Fury right now is going to get more respect from me than Joshua. I know that coming from a guy that may not have the biggest respect for Joshua, but when you're the guy, when you are the guy, you get to call the shots. And nothing showed me that Joshua wanted anything to do with Wilder.
And see, that's my point. You've got 2 of the 4 belts, or 3 of the 5 belts, or 8 of the 12 belts, or whatever they are now. You're the one that should be dictating what's going on. So if Wilder is the next guy and he won't shut his mouth up, you say, come on, son, I'll shut it for you. Or when Fury comes back and he wants to try and get back in the spotlight, you say, okay, you fight a tune-up, then come see me. Or you can fight me right now. However it works out, but if you want to have your belts back, you got to come see me and get them. And I guess that's the question I'm asking. How is he on the outside looking in now when the focus is on this other side of the division?
Well, it goes back to that word protected. I always got the feeling that Eddie Hearn didn't really believe in Joshua. And I completely agree with what Charles said. I didn't care what Joshua said. I didn't think he wanted to get anywhere near that right hand of Wilder.
Sure.
No way he was going to get in there with that right hand. And so they talked it, they didn't walk it. So now he's on the outside, which is kind of good. He's got a title.
Right.
But he regained his titles, right?
Right.
But people don't look at him the same way anymore. So he should have fought, what you're saying is a good point, Frank. He really should have fought Wilder and then Joshua if he really wanted to be the guy. If he was acting like he was the guy. Let's go back to the guy behind me. He wanted to fight everybody that was the man. He'd fight Joe Frazier. He'd fight Ken Norton. Then he fights George Foreman. He fought all the guys. You didn't hear Joshua saying, all right, that's enough. I'm going to tell Eddie Hearn, I want Wilder. None of this talking no more. He'd be like, well, they want more money, and he sounded like a businessman.
Right.
So
right.
I agree with Charles. I don't think Joshua really wanted. He might end up getting in with him someday, but I don't really think he wanted to. And Eddie Hearn wasn't going to force it. That's the point. Eddie Hearn was kind of protective.
Well, I'm sorry. Let me say this real quick, Charles. If Joshua ends up getting in the ring with Wilder, it's going to be 4 or 5 years after he should have.
For both.
Yeah, for both of them, right?
I agree with you. But I think the other obstacle, the other issue that came up was the fact that he lost to Ruiz. You know, when you lose that fight,
Sure.
it's like people like me, they go, "See, I told you."
Right,
I told you.
right.
I told you. You said you're the best. So even if you were protected, you go in there with a guy that's overweight, out of shape. We gave no chance in hell of winning the fight, and he clocks you.
Right.
In America. See, all of the things you said you were worthy of, all of the
Sure.
you're going to show Americans what we were missing out on, and we were all wrong about you. Everything was laid out on the table. And now, because you came back and survived the second bout because you changed your style, now you want to come back to the top. We as Americans said, hell no, you're not deserving. Especially from the Midwest. You have not shown anything to get back on the top, bro. You got to work your way up. And to me, that's why he's on his way. He's on the outside looking in. So for as much as the Eddie Hearns of the world and the folks overseas want to talk about certain things, we still know we're boxing is king, bro. We still, over here in America, we still kind of turn on certain divisions, we kind of guide the ship still. That's why people are still mad at PBC boxing.
and basically all of us Midwesterners or transplanted Midwesterners, we're all from Missouri. You got to show me. Right, you got to show me.
Yeah.
All right, now, this is something that's been odd about or different from this show that we haven't had to worry about in the last few months. We have boxing news. I know, actual news. Where's the graphics guy at? News. Breaking news. Okay. So, and I just saw it pop across the screen a little while ago. John, go ahead and go with the breaking news because I'm interested to see exactly what I've heard if it matches up with what's going on.
Well, I read it a little bit. I don't know every detail, but Canelo was suing DAZN and Golden Boy basically to get away from him. He don't want anything to do with him. He said they broke the agreement. DAZN paid him $35 million per fight, which they did for his defense against Rock Warriors when he moved up against Rocky Fielding and then he fought Jacobs. Nothing has happened since. There have been rumors he was going to fight Billy Joe Saunders. That hasn't happened.
Right.
So he's basically saying that they didn't do. It's like a betrayal. That's the way I read between the lines. He's basically saying, look, you didn't do what you're supposed to do, and DAZN and Golden Boy would probably say, hey man, we got a pandemic going on right now, and we're going to pay you all that money. We got no crowd. So we can't. So they said we'll cut his pay a little bit, and supposedly Canelo said, okay, I'll take less money. But then they couldn't agree on a fight, and then DAZN had signed Canelo because they wanted a third Golovkin fight.
Right.
Canelo was like,
What's the point?
Yeah, it's true, actually. I don't want a third fight. So I agree. But he knew that when he signed the contract with DAZN, that they expected him to, at least this is my opinion, they expected him to fight Golovkin a third time. So now they're pissed at him because he's like, nah, I ain't going to fight him. And he's got some contenders out there that want to fight him. But now, who knows? I mean, he's going to be stuck in this problem. A lot of people are saying, let's just put Oscar and Canelo in the ring and let them fight it out. Come on, man.
I don't need this lawsuit. I'll take it out on him right here. Yeah.
That's right. So people hate it. I saw some of the comments on social media. They're all blaming Canelo. They're all saying he's the coward. He's this. He's that. I don't really think that's fair. I think the guy wants to fight the people. But you got so much. When you got money, guys, you know this. When you got all that money and all that greed, and then you got one guy who wants to be in charge, and he wasn't. And
Right.
Canelo wants to rule his own career now. He wants to be like Floyd Mayweather. He wants to be like Oscar was. He wants to get away from all these big guys and do his own shows. That's what I think. He's like, I'm 30 years old. I got 4 or 5 years left. But he's hooked to these guys, and now they're not doing what they said they were going to do. So why stay with them? So I'm going to sue their ass.
And on another note, isn't there a fight that's going to be just scheduled to come up on ESPN that is going to be a free fight that normally would have been a pay-per-view fight?
Yeah.
And I just saw it, and the names just drop out of my head.
L versus L, Lomo and Lopez
right.
was going to be pay-per-view, and now it's going to be right on ESPN for everybody to see. And
Charles, what do you think of that?
No, I think it's awesome. I mean, that lets you know these two guys want to fight. So
Right.
that's what that is. And if you keep doing it, you do it the right way, the payday's coming. Once we get back to it, you don't got to worry about it. But I think that shows you that you're not worrying about, did I get my $35 million this time or whatever. They want to fight. And I think that's going to mean a lot more in regards to revenue. It's going to mean a lot more for fans because you now get to see Lomachenko versus a young guy that really wants this. You got another young guy that, if people not heard of Lopez, they're going to find out about him real quick. And now they're the bell of the ball, if you will, bell of the ball. So now they're going to be moving forward. But like when you mentioned about Canelo, the one thing too that I find kind of bizarre and humorous at the same time is that when they kept coming up, Canelo kept coming up with guys he wanted to fight, like the Billy Joe Saunders of the world and other guys like that. The Zone and came back and said, those are not worth the amount of money. There's not top-notch fights. And it's like, we don't want to pay you for those fights. And it's like, who the hell you want us to fight? And he's like, well, we want you to fight Triple G. But you want to fight this guy first. So you bounce around. And they said, well, no, we don't want that. But he says, well, you're not going to let me fight anybody.
Right.
And I fight, so that's why I'm suing you. So you want Triple G, but I want to fight Triple G basically when the money's right. But then again, on the other hand, if you really want to fight like that, something that matters, and maybe this is another John protective moment. They have not said anything about Andre. They have not said anything about the Charlos.
Right.
You don't want to smoke because if you take those chances and you lose, then there is no Triple G fight. And I think the Zone knows that too. So they have not said one damn thing about either one of them guys because they want that fight. And I don't think Canelo's like, I'm not risking that unless you can guarantee me a certain amount of money where I can come back. So it's a crazy situation, but I see both sides of it. But it's a protected moment for both sides.
Here's the thing that I think differentiates both of these. The Canelo situation is, I want to fight, but I want to fight who I want to fight. And I really don't care what happens before or after that. I want to fight who I want to fight. The Zone is like, we want you to fight who we want you to fight, and we're not really concerned about what happens after that because we want you to fight who we want you to fight. On the other hand, Lomachenko and Lopez are like, we want to fight each other. And if you do this right, there's either a rematch, or if Lopez wins, now he's in the stratosphere, or if Lomo wins, it's like, see, I told you, now bring me somebody else. There's always going to be something for Lomo if he wins, and if he doesn't, that puts Lopez in the stratosphere. Now, the part of that I like is, I've heard the rumor, I'm just making this up, that the fathers are going to fight in the prelim. So that would be, I'm sorry. But that would be interesting. I'll put them in the ring for the prelim. But the idea of, we're going to go out and jump at this, and we're going to let people see it, because one way or another, we're going to get paid down the road from this. Because if it's a close fight, that's a rematch, that's a pay-per-view blow-up right there. If it's not, then we've just proven the Lomo is that good, and we just ride that as far as we go. And if Lopez wins, and it's not worthy of a rematch, it's like, bring everybody on. Who else you got? Let's go. So there's an interesting way of looking at it, but of course the thing I love about it is we're talking about new stuff. Still not about the fight yet, but we're talking about new stuff that could happen. So to me, that's a positive.
Yeah, and real fast, I think, again, it's that money. You know, you've got people that invested a lot of money, and when there's money involved, like Charles said, the Zone doesn't want Canelo to risk losing a fight before he fights Triple G, and because they think that's good, they're going to make the most money because they're going to get it out of the box office. People are going to want to see it again. They believe that they made like 25 million or something like that just out of the box office, or 27 million box office alone. So they're thinking that's going to be our killer. We're going to make a lot of money back since we've been losing so much money. But it's not as simple as they want. And then, like we were saying, Andre, and it's like he doesn't even exist.
Right.
I mean, I'm laughing only because it's so stupid. They won't even mention his name or the Charlo brothers. They won't mention his name and the Charlos because they're not that stupid. They know that those guys are legitimate risks for Canelo, and they think Canelo's going to just wipe the floor with Golovkin, and he would probably stop him in the third fight. So they want the safe fight to make a lot of their investment back. See, and that's what drives people crazy. Is like with Charles, I can see both sides, but this is not good for the sport because Canelo is probably going to be tied up in this problem for a while, and Oscar's going to have to replace him here on the zone or something. I can't say that with a straight face.
I know, I can't believe it, but well, all right, well, okay, so, and I'm going to go back in time a little bit. Yeah, go ahead.
One other thing in there too. The one thing we know about boxing, particularly boxing fans, old school guys like us, and even some newer ones, they don't forget. If you are Lopez and Lomachenko, when they come on, basically free TV or free cable, ESPN, they will remember that,
right?
And they will reward them when it's time to get paid. Right. People love that because like we're sitting at home like NBA basketball right now. Imagine no NBA basketball right now. People would be miserable. They will not forget that with the fans. And with the Canelo situation, like you said, they're sitting there going, okay, we want to fight. And the one outstanding factor that we must remember as the clock continues to tick and we wait to see what happens next with Canelo, Golovkin, a.k.a. Triple G, continues to get older and older. Yes. Yeah, right. And he's not going to be the same guy if he does fight again against Canelo. And that's something Canelo has not had a problem with. And imagine he fights him and he gets older and he still gets the same amount of money. Canelo would have no problem with that.
Right. Well, that kind of goes on the point I was hoping to make, is that when we had to worry about, is it Don King or Bob Arum or Dan Duver or Rock Newman or whoever it was, they didn't let ego and money get in the way of everything. Now, we can say that it wasn't a beautiful arrangement between all of them, and it wasn't, but they understood we have to have fights in order to make money. So we may not always put the best fight out there, but we're not going to have our guy lay out for 3 years unless that's what the guy wants to do. Now, I know we can talk about Hagler, Leonard, and all that stuff, but the idea being we're going to put a fight out there, and if maybe this guy co-promotes with me for this fight, I'll still make some money, and I'll be able to promote the next fight. They didn't seem to have a problem with that. If you fought on HBO or you fought on Showtime, yeah, you were kind of constricted to that, but every now and then a Showtime fighter fought on HBO or vice versa. They didn't have a big problem with it if that's what had to happen. You know, were you a Wide World of Sports guy or were you a CBS Sports Spectacular guy? As long as we were able to get you out there, because as far as I'm concerned, I think I asked this question a few weeks ago, I don't think we as the fan really cares much if it's Al Bernstein or if it's Jim Lampley or whomever, as long as we're getting something good. We're not going to not watch the fight because this guy isn't commentating and it's not that logo. If it's worth watching, we're going to watch it. Now, that's on them to do that. I have my favorites of who does a fight and who I like to listen to and I like to see. Sure. I'm not going to say that that's not an issue at all. But am I really concerned if it's Jimmy Lennon Jr. or if it's Michael Buffer doing the announcing because one's with Showtime and one's with something else? You know, as long as they do what they do, get me the guys fighting. Put on a good show. Make sure you have it organized on your end and give it to me. And if you give me something, Canelo versus Andrade, for example, I'm going to remember that. And I'm going to, like Charles said, I'm going to remember that. And the next time they come out, I'm going to want to watch them. You know, whether it's on Showtime or PBC or Fox or whatever. And I think they lose sight of that. I think they think they're bigger than the event or events in the sport, and they're not. they're the conduit to what we see. I get that. And we mentioned this a few months ago. We mentioned, and I think someone of the 8 people that watched the show must have been with ESPN, when we said, you got to come out with a splash. And then 2 weeks later, they come out with the Tuesday night fights and everything. I was like, okay, you're doing what we asked you to do. Great. Which means that we're not that smart. It was pretty much common sense, but okay. But they came out and did what we suggested they should do. And I think it kept us involved. Not always great fights, but at least it was something. I don't agree with going in the bubble, but that's me. But that's just the way what they had to do. That's what they did. And they gave us something in sport. Now we have something snowballing from there. So, my take on it is it doesn't matter. My take is it doesn't matter who's showing it. It's that it's shown.
Really, I think you guys are making great points. And Charles, I like what you said because I think they forget about the fans way too much. The guys, the big, supposed smart guys in the boxing world. Because I think this is why Canelo's getting some grief over this. Most people don't want fighters that are worried about the business end. They want people who are really fighters. So when you see Lomo and Lopez saying, fine, I'll take less, Lomachenko saying, I'll take less money, Lopez is getting more, we're not going to fight in front of a crowd, that's fine. It's almost like a grudge match. It's like, man, you meet me down the street, I'm ready to fight you. And that's what we think of, in a sense, when we get real Neanderthal-like.
Put some police tape around the 7-Eleven parking lot, let's go.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'll be there waiting for you. So we like that because they're giving us what we want. They're not worried about all the other stuff. They're saying, okay, maybe I could have got more money if I had waited. Maybe you promised me more. Hey, Bob Arum, you promised me $5 million. You're not giving it to me, so I'm not going to fight. He's not doing that. He's saying, I'll take a pay cut. I'll do this. I'll do that to make this fight. And Charles is right. People remember that. They go, all right, these guys are. Okay, they're getting a hell of a lot of money, don't get me wrong. But these guys are fighters. They're not making excuses. This is a risky fight for both of those guys, maybe even riskier for Lomo, because Lopez is so young, have lost to Lomachenko. I don't think ends his career. Lomo could be worrisome at 32 years old if he gets knocked out or something. So this is a really, really important fight. So kudos to both those guys, and that's what, finally, that's what I think most people think fighters are supposed to be. Fighters fight.
Yeah, you're right. And I think the other thing real quick is the factor that's going against the zone, also Canelo and also Golden Boy is this. Other things are happening. So now we have the Charlo brothers coming up in 2 marquee fights, 2 very good fights. Okay?
Yes.
That's still moving along. And then you turn around and you go, okay, PBC is like, all right, well, we're not going to sit back on the sideline and wait on nobody. We're going to throw Danny Garcia, Errol Spence Jr. So it's moving along. So while the zone is on the sideline, everybody's looking like, well, Canelo, you not fighting? I mean, you had opportunity again. You missed the Mexican holiday. You went from Cinco de Mayo, you missed that. You went to your other payday, which is
September, this month.
The true Mexican holiday. You're not fighting it. When the hell are you fighting? And
right.
People are like, okay, so you don't want to fight. Somebody else is fighting. Even with Sean Porter fighting. It wasn't the greatest fight in the world, but he fought. So now we still waiting on Canelo. When you going to fight next year? So, yeah. So, I mean, and he might. Nobody's going to care anymore.
And let's not forget, with all this, you strung Billy Joe Saunders along. Now he doesn't have a fight. And that's not fair to him. It's like, well, you're going to be in the mix, and now who's he fight? That might mess up his career. And looking at it in the grand scheme of things, just like you said, it's what are we going to see? Who are they going to put out there in front of us? We want to see fighters. Now, and I'm going to close it on this. At the end of a fight, who do you want to see? When they have the little, he's holding up the belt, the ref holds up his hands, they put the microphone in front of him, like, what's next? The guy says, all thanks to God, my trainer, blah, 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 blah. I just want to fight, and whoever my handlers put together, I'll fight him. That's the guy I want to hear. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But that's the guy that says, haven't thought about that. I was focused on this fight. I've got these guys to deal with that. Whoever they make the deal with, I fight. Or you want the guy that's already had it all scripted out in front of him. He's like, well, blah, 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 blah. And if he beats him and all that. It's like, you just got out of a fight. You've thought about all that already? No. You're supposed to be thinking, I just got done with this fight. I'm not thinking anything else until they put it in front of me. So, as you said, that's the guy that's a little bit more into the business part of it. Not that you shouldn't be, but too much into the business part and not into the boxing part. Or at least fake it. This gives me the idea of like, whoever they bring in front of me, I'll fight for however much it is, because that's more money than you're going to see doing Dancing with the Stars. And I won't even get into the Charles Oakley thing on that. So anyway, the fun part about this show always is we get to talk about stuff. And I think that the recap of this fight in particular, I don't know what I was going to think about seeing it again, and I was fairly certain I had no idea what the two of you were going to say about it. So to me, that's pretty cool. And that's why as we've started titling this Legendary Fights and all that crap, it's pretty cool. But then when we actually have something to talk about that's happening in the near future, hopefully. So I guess we can say boxing is back. Even if it's just in theory, we can say boxing is back. So that's a cool thing. So
boxing is definitely back. I mean, they got some good fights coming. And one next month is a good one. And then, like Charles said, Danny Garcia and Errol Spence Jr., that's really a good one. So and then Wilder and Fury are still tentatively scheduled to fight in December, even though we really haven't heard anything. So there are some good things coming, and Wilder has been very, very quiet. We have to talk about him again in the near future. I don't know, what does that mean? Does that mean that he's been in the gym the last few months working on a lot of things? So I'm very, very curious about Deontay Wilder. Man, you ought to call him Deontay Rodney Dangerfield Wilder, because he really never got much respect, even though we all know his flaws. But hey, he did what he had to do, and he was knocking everybody out. So yeah, he had a lot of flaws, but then he's heavyweight champion of the world. Guy started fighting in the 20s, so got to give it to him. But yeah, we got a lot of good stuff coming, Frank, Charles.
All right, Mr. Farmer, close it out for us, if you would.
Yeah, I want to thank everyone for watching, paying attention. I know it's been rough with this stuff that's going around, but we're here to try to entertain you, try to bring some knowledge, and not saying that we're always right, Frank. Anyway, but we just want to entertain you and have some fun, because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And we want you to be good to one another and find a way to laugh, man, because the rest of it ain't worth it, brother. Real talk.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing better to be said than that. All right. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your month. Make sure you get out and vote and do all that stuff that everyone's talking about. Make sure you take care of, or stay in and vote, or whatever you got to do. Just make sure you take care of the important stuff.
I survived Vegas, baby. Yeah.
Stay healthy, everybody.